Now, if you regularly watch the channel, then you would have seen a few weeks ago, I got sent this in the mail, this unmarked bag with all of the labels completely blacked out. But what's important is what's inside the bag that doesn't open. Oh, that's not good. Anyways, inside that bag were these boots right here, completely blacked out, no branding anywhere, and even the little logo that I assume would be right there was completely covered up, basically to have people guess what these were. 2 weeks later, and I receive another package, yet another bag containing some boots. And for those of you guys that guessed Umbro, congratulations, because you're right. This bag clearly labeled Umbro, and then through the translucent front, you can see the boots on the inside, which we'll get to in just a second. The label, if you're wondering what that looks like unblacked out, here it is. And then when you open the bag, which this bag actually does open still, not sure what happened to the other one, we have the boots themselves. What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Umbro Velocita 4 Pro, the brand's latest speed boot that has seen one of the more unusual releases of 2018, sending everyone blackouts that were unbranded. I think was honestly kind of a cool idea, but the final product actually turned out quite nice. So we're gonna go over all the details in today's video, including how these fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you are interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. Now, this is the part of the video where I would typically show you guys what comes with the boots, but it's worth noting that Umbro sent these to me directly, exclusively in this bag, no box at all. But I'm going to assume that if you buy them from a store, they'll probably just come in a box. Whether or not that box will include this bag or a different bag or a string bag or something else entirely, that I'm not really sure about. Just know that if you order a pair, they're probably gonna come in a box and not this. What you will get with the boots is this Umbro branded shoehorn, which kind of seems like a strange inclusion given that these are pretty much low cut boots, but they do have kind of a strange heel grip liner, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video. I personally don't think you really need this, but it is nice that they include it as an extra. Not a bad sound either. Now, as for the boots themselves, this is now the 4th generation of Velocita from the Umbro brand. And to be fair, it's pretty much completely different in comparison to the Velocita 3 that it replaces. So it's almost not worth comparing the two. The highlight of this boot, in my opinion though, is definitely what they've done with the upper. It's an adaptive tri-layer synthetic material with an emphasis around stretch and really a customized fit out of the box. If I had to compare it to anything else out there, it actually reminds me a little bit of the clutch fit system from Under Armour, but at the same time quite a bit different, but feels very similar in my opinion to that of the synthetic upper that we had on the X15.1 from Adidas several years ago, although this definitely feels a little bit thicker and a little bit more padded overall. So basically what you're going to find as a base layer for the synthetic is going to be a neoprene material that's not overly thin. It has a little bit of softness, kind of a sponginess to it is the best way I would describe it. And then you have 2 layers of basically a polyurethane synthetic material on top, a black base layer and then a white layer on top, where you can see through the forefoot area especially, you have these little diamond cutouts that are there to allow for a little bit of stretch and expansion to the upper, something that you will see a little bit more clearly when I have the shoes on feet later in the video. So you have more structure where the material is left solid, mainly through the midfoot where you want it to be more structured, and then of course a little bit of softness. It thins out the material ever so slightly as well in the forefoot and toe box area. The end result, given that this is a speed boot and you'd probably expect them to be quite thin, is a boot that does feel relatively thin. Would I describe it as a barefoot feel? It's definitely close, but it's not a true pingy sensation that you might get from something like a Mercurial Vapor 12 Elite, which I think is a fair comparison to make with this particular model. If I had to compare it to any other speed boot out there right now, it actually reminds me in regards to feel a lot of the Speed Mesh upper that we have on the X18.1, which again is not a bad comparison. As it's pretty clear to see, the upper is left pretty smooth. There's a little bit of texturing from the cutouts for these little diamonds right here, but for the most part, you're not gonna find much in the way of extra grip. Of course, the upper does feature a one-piece construction, something that we're seeing more and more of, and this is probably the best one-piece upper in regards to fit and overall wrap of your foot that Umbro has ever made. The central portion is filled in with a neoprene material, which isn't actually added material. It's just a continuation of that base layer. So the entire base of the shoe is basically a neoprene sock. Now neoprene, while it can feel very comfortable and soft, which this does, I think it can look and feel a little bit cheap. This, however, is probably some of the most premium neoprene that I've ever come across. I really like the added touch of that little bit of a diamond texturing there on the surface. I think it just makes them look that much more expensive. And in regards to softness and overall out-of-the-box comfort, this is one of the more comfortable speed boots I think money can buy right now. As far as the central lacing system is concerned, given that it's a one-piece upper, of course it does use a dual lace hole system, which I think is the best way of doing a lacing system with a one-piece upper. Plenty of lockdown, plenty of adjustability, which is obviously what you want with any kind of super tight fitting boot, which this is, which brings us to the rear of the shoe, where you're going to find what I think most people would consider to be a collar, but honestly this is kind of just more of a low cut shoe. It extends a little bit higher at the back, a little bit higher at the front and sides, but for the most part, if you're planning on picking these up, expect them to feel like lows rather than mids. Which brings us to the heel liner, which is arguably the most unique element of this particular boot in a good way. The base heel liner is a synthetic suede with plenty of padding, but of course on top of that synthetic suede, you're going to find a silicone webbing that is extremely grippy. Basically, it gives you the effect of grip socks without actually having to wear grip socks. And I was a little bit concerned at first when they first sent out those blackout pairs that it was going to be too grippy and potentially even uncomfortable, causing blisters, but that's not actually the case at all. Given that you're wearing decent quality socks, they grip your socks really nicely. The heel lockdown is tremendous because of all that extra grip, but the comfort is still at a level to where you're going to feel perfectly fine wearing these pretty much the first time out of the box. So again, break-in time and overall comfort is definitely one of the strongest aspects of this particular boot, and if you typically struggle with heel slippage, something like this definitely might help you out. The grippy heel liner is also the reason why Umbro does include a shoehorn with the boots, which typically we only see with laceless boots because they are a little bit more difficult to get on, but given that this heel material does grip your socks really effectively, it can make putting these on a little bit tricky. The shoehorn can help, but I don't think is entirely necessary, which you guys will see when I put these on later in the video. The durability of the grip liner is also worth mentioning for just a second. I know the boots just came out, so nobody really has any kind of accurate opinion on how it wears or if it wears away at all. If I had to guess, I'm going to assume that after a month or two, some of that grip texturing will wear off. But again, until somebody has actually worn them for that extended period of time, it's really difficult to say. Even if the grip liner were to wear off, the fit and comfort in the heel would still be very good though. The insoles are of course fully removable, and as you can see, pretty straightforward as well. It features a mesh liner on top with this pretty cool pattern, and then it's just made from a single layer of this white foam. Very straightforward, nothing fancy at all, but they work. The sole plate and stud pattern also sees some pretty dramatic changes in comparison to the Velocita, opting for a design that I would say compares more closely to the Acuro rather than what we've seen from this line previously. You can see it does feature an external heel counter, kind of Adidas Sprint frame-esque, but a lot smaller in general. That's basically providing all your structure at the back because this top part is left pretty soft. It's just a lot of extra padding. That's what's maintaining its shape. But then of course the sole plate itself, it's got this extra texturing on the base, which I think is there just for the sake of looking cool. The only annoying part about that is it will pick up mud and basically be very difficult to clean. Not really a major downside, but something worth noting for sure. But it's a standard TPU plastic construction. It has some decent thickness to it. Definitely not as thin as what you'll find from a lot of the Sprint frame variations from Adidas. And overall, as light as these are, they actually have a nice solid feel underfoot, which is very nice. Then you have the firm ground stud pattern. Again, more so a variant of what you'll find from the Acuro line, but a little bit more aggressive in regards to how they've shaped the studs. So in the forefoot, you will find some conical studs, but you also find these kind of triangular bladed style studs. The thing about this stud pattern is though that the studs are very, very short. So if you do play on harder ground, this is gonna be one of those stud patterns that is going to be more or less ideal for you versus 99% of the other FG stud patterns out there, because unless you're in an Asian market, hard ground stud patterns just aren't really available. North America and Europe, it's FG, SG, or AG. This is a good option if you do play on hard ground. However, if you don't play on hard ground, you play on legitimate firm to soft ground, this probably won't provide the best traction for you. You can see in the heel, it's got more of those bladed studs. The studs are just very short. It's not that the layout is bad. It's not that the stud shape is a bad design. It's just that if you need the studs to be a little bit longer, the traction's just not going to be there. there. So it's not a bad stud pattern, it's just not going to be the best for everyone depending on your specific situation and the fields that you play on. And then there's the weight. In a size 9 US, the Velocita 4 Pro weighs in at 7.4 ounces, which is not tremendously lightweight, but it's on par with a lot of top-end models, speed boots included, that are currently out there. Are there lighter options from the big boys, Nike and Adidas, as far as their speed boots go? Absolutely, but it is worth noting that these are quite a bit different and also less expensive than all of those other options, Vapor 12 Elite, X18.1, or even the more expensive models than that. So they're light enough, not super light, but I think that's probably what most people were expecting anyways. So as you can see, I swapped out the stock black laces, which look good, for some neon yellow reflective SR4U replacement laces. You get the reflective bits, which I think always look really cool, and it accents really nicely with the neon yellow you have around the collar and makes the design of the shoe, I would say, just that little bit more interesting. It kind of highlights all of the little details on the upper that much more. Anyways, if you guys are interested in some replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. Be sure to go ahead and check that out. Now, I did mention earlier that the grip texturing can make these a little bit more tricky to put on. I'm gonna put them on for you in real time. Basically, I wouldn't do it any differently than I would any other one-piece boot. So what I like to do is just use both thumbs, kind of loosen the laces, pull my foot in, and then just use my back thumb almost as a shoehorn to support the heel area of the boot so I don't crush it, and then just kind of slide my foot in. You can see that doing it this way, you don't really rub against the grip texturing that much, and you don't really need a shoehorn, but if you do want to use one, you definitely can, and it's nice that they do include it, I guess. On feet, the Velocita 4 Pro feels extremely comfortable out of the box. The first thing that you'll notice when you put these on and pull the laces tight is that the upper kind of stretches around your foot, and then once everything is tied in place, it has a nice locked-in sensation. Is it the most responsive upper in the world? Absolutely not, but for fitting as tight as they do, they're extremely comfortable. They don't feel like they're squeezing your feet, which can be uncomfortable and can cause foot cramping with a lot of very tight fitting boots. You're not gonna have that issue with these at all. For being a one-piece upper, the wrap across the top of the foot is pretty much perfect. There's not really any extra space on the inside of the boot either, which is great. You want that one-to-one fit, and you definitely get it with this particular shoe. And then of course, moving on to the heel area, it pretty much just feels like a standard low-cut shoe. I think they look like low cuts as well. And then that grip heel liner with the extra padding and the materials they've used here feels really, really good. You have a super locked-in sensation. Again, if heel slippage is an issue for you, you're really gonna like this heel liner. As far as width is concerned, I think that these are gonna be wide enough for just about anybody, as long as you don't mind a snug fitting boot. If you don't like a tight fit, I still don't think that these would be a great option for you, but I definitely think that they will fit most people. And as far as sizing is concerned, they sent me these in a size 9 US, which is a little bit more snug than I would like them to be. For the most part though, I would say that they run true to size. So if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, here's my overall opinion on the Umbro Velocita 4 Pro. And if you're just wondering whether or not I recommend them, the simple answer to that question is yes, I can strongly recommend this particular boot. They offer everything you could possibly want from a top-end speed boot in 2018. However, that's not to say that they're perfect. And my main issue with this product is why would you buy them over other options out there from the big brands? Because that's ultimately who a brand like Umbro is chasing. When you're talking about speed boots specifically, I think one of the most popular and one of the most competitive spaces when it comes to modern football boots, they're not the lightest, they're not the thinnest, they're not the most aggressive as far as traction is concerned, and those are going to be the three main elements that I think a lot of people tend to focus on when it comes to top-end speed boots. Yes, they're cheaper than something like an X18.1 or a Superfly or a Vapor or even an X18 Plus or even a Nemesis model, whatever you want to consider to be a flagship speed boot. But again, they don't do anything better than any of the other boots out there in any specific category. It's a very well-rounded product, but I think in order to really get the attention of a consumer and pull them away from a big brand like Nike and Adidas, you have to do something a little bit more special. Again, they're not bad, I just don't think that they're exciting enough. And that concludes my review of the Umbro Velocita 4 Pro. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. Ooh.